Hi, it's Mike with AskTractorMike.com. Well, half of 2023 is gone, and second quarter tractor sales figures were released this week. And on big tractors, articulated tractors, and combines, the demand's pretty good and supplies aren't bad. But on little tractors, compact tractors, and mid-range tractors, the demand is going this way, and the supplies are going this way. Is it a buyer's market? Maybe. Let's go look at the numbers. Well, here's the report, and it's provided courtesy of the Association of Equipment Manufacturers. And these are U.S. ag, tractor, and combine sales, all brands, through June of 2023. And this first is just June and how it compares to June of last year. And I really don't pay much attention to the monthly numbers. I look at year to date. And if you look at year to date in 2023 compared to 2022, in the under 40 horsepower range, we're way down from 99,333 to 86,389, or a drop of 13%. If you look at the mid-range, the 40 to 100 horsepower tractors, we're still down pretty good, 31,999 in 2022, dropping down to 29,375 this year, or a drop of 8.2%. Now, the really hot markets are the over 100 horse tractors, the bigger tractors. They've gone from 11,268 a year ago to 12,328 this year, or a 9.4% increase. And the farming tractors, the tractors they use to raise row crops, are way up. Year to date, a year ago, at the end of June, in the articulated four-wheel drive tractors, the big tractors they use to pull in farming country, went from 1287 to 1872, and combines went from 2137 to 3237, or a 51.5% jump. So the guys in row crop country, the dealers there, ought to be doing pretty good. And of course, the farmers are gearing up to try to produce food because there could be some global food shortages this year. Let's go to this graph right here and break these numbers down a little bit. And what I tend to do is to look at our sales this year in 2023 versus 2019. Because in the middle here, in 2020, 2021, and 2022, we had at least in the small tractors, a COVID-fueled buying frenzy. And the market went crazy. People bought a bunch of smaller tractors and mid-range tractors. The supplies went down, and it really impacted the market drastically. So I like to consider comparing 2023 versus 2019 because I think that gives you realistic numbers. In 2019, before COVID hit, there were under 40 horsepower, all brands, 89,881 tractors sold. And the inventory in June was at 87,507. And I look at inventory versus sales. And so the inventory was 97% of total sales. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later. Now, when you compare to 2023, we've gone from 89,881 to 86,389. So we've seen a pretty good drop in small tractor sales, while the inventory levels have gone from 87.5 to 108,194. And we currently stand at 125% inventory towards sales. And so that's a worrying number if you're a tractor manufacturer. Now let's look at the 40 to 100 horsepower range. We sold 28,906 back in 2019, and we're up to 29,375. So sales have actually continued up versus 2019, and inventory has also risen from 36,000 to 38,304 this year. So we've seen a growth in sales and a growth in inventory, and we're currently in the mid-range at 130% our inventory to our sales, and that's a pretty big number. Now, the markets that really have taken off, if you look at sales over 100 horsepower, they were less impacted by COVID, but they've gone up as time goes on. You look down here all the way from 2020, 2021, and 2022, 2023. They've gradually pretty much risen, while inventory has started to rise as well. This year we sold 328 tractors year to date over 100 horsepower, and the inventory stands at 10,288. And both numbers are going up. And the articulated tractors are where the real big growth is in combines. The market on articulated has gone from 1,200, 1,000, 1,400, pretty flat market, to this year 1,872 units year to date. And our inventory is only 512 units, or 27% inventory to sales. And combines have really kicked it up. Again, they weren't impacted much by COVID. They've stayed pretty flat, but we've gone from selling around 2,000 to 2,200 combines in the first half of the year to 3,237 this year. But the inventory is also starting to rise a little bit to 1,874. So what's happening? Small tractors, of course, we're getting back to normal after COVID, and inventories are starting to pick up a little bit. And in big tractors, people are buying them in row crop country to try to take advantage of good farm prices. Well, let's look at the graph. I've done graphs of all of these. This is under 40 horsepower, and the blue line shows the sales, and this orange line shows inventory. And you'll notice that we were pretty even with inventory to sales back in 2019, and then the inventory dropped as the COVID thing happened, and the sales picked up, the blue line up here. And now the blue line has started heading down in sales, and the inventory level is up. And so that's a pretty big deal if you're buying. Now you look at the mid-range tractors, and we're seeing kind of the same thing. The sales went up, not as drastically during COVID, and inventory went down. But now we're seeing the sales starting to level off and drop a little bit, and inventory is starting to rise. That's in the mid-range tractors. Now you go tractors over 100 horsepower, and the demand has just kept going up on them. And the supply is rising, but it's sure not at a worrisome level yet. Then you look at the four-wheel drive articulated tractors, the big tractors they use in row crop country, and inventory is abysmal. They can't build enough of them, and the demand is huge. And combine's kind of the same way. Now combine inventory is starting to rise a little bit, but demand is just off the scale. It's better than it's been in a long time. Now this last graph here, I wanted to show you what the manufacturers kind of look at when they're trying to figure out how much to build at the factories. They like to keep the number of months in inventory level as low as they can, so they have less carrying cost. And a lot of times dealers pay for units when they arrive, but sometimes the manufacturer will floor plan them or carry the cost of having them on the dealer's lot for a period of time. And they watch those numbers pretty closely because they don't want any more inventory on the ground than they can sell. And they look at number of months in inventory, and that's what these yellow columns are here. And this is under 40 horsepower. You know, they in 2019 we had 6 months supply on the ground. That dropped from 5 months to 2 months in 2021. If you're shopping for a compact tractor in 2021, you know this. In 2023, we're currently at 8 months supply on the ground. So that's starting to rise. Now, in the mid-range tractors, we had 7 months supply on the ground, and then COVID hit and we went down to 3 to 4. And then this year, we're currently at 8 months supply on the ground, the same number of months on the ground as the compact tractors. So anything under 100 horse, the supply is starting to creep up and get a little bit worrisome for the manufacturers, I'm sure. Now, in the over 100 horse, they've got 5 months supply on the ground. That's not bad. In the four-wheel drive articulated tractors, there's 2 months supply on the ground. They'd probably like to have a few more of them out. In combines, they've got 3 months supply. And those numbers are good for profitability for the manufacturers. But that's where we are on the current year-to-date sales. All this news is not necessarily good for the manufacturers, but if you're shopping for a tractor, it's great news because you'll be in a better bargaining position than you would have been a year ago. If you're looking for a tractor and you've never bought one before, I highly recommend you go to my website and check out my ebook, An Insider's Guide to Purchasing a Tractor. It talks about how to get the right size of tractor, how to get the right options, how to negotiate a good deal, and whether to go with leasing or financing, all of that stuff to take all the mystery out of that first-time tractor purchase to make sure you get the right thing the first time. It's $29.95, but you'll get that amount off of a purchase on my website later if you buy the book. I highly recommend you get it. It's available right here on my website, An Insider's Guide to Purchasing a Tractor. Thanks for watching.